Hey, JT.
How you doing?
How you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to your show. Let's go ahead and start.
Okay. I'd like to share a couple things with you first. Again, a thank you to WGSN and DB for the opportunity here to just share some thoughts with you. I enjoy talking with each and every one of you. You can reach out to me at my email. Uh, what we're talking about today is something a little more in depth, a little more. We're going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to be talking about and taking care of some business with regard to actually some very basic English and help us remember how that is put together with our thought life and with the way we communicate with other people. So we're going to go ahead and what I'd like to do first is I came across a song recently, and it's been around a while. It's from the movie uh, Father of the Bride 2. Now, I'm not going to play it. We don't have the rights to play it on air. But what I am going to do is read the portions of it as the lyrics because it just reminded me of basically some of the things that we should be thinking about here in the solo life. So it's originally sung by Steve Terrell, and he was the man whose voice you would hear if you were to play the movie. You'd hear this song, and it's called "Give Me the Simple Life." And I think it fits in well with what we're talking about here. Cece, can you see me if I put up my screen here? Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. The lyrics go like this: Folks are blessed who make the best of everyday living by their own philosophy. Everyone who needs the sun must find a way, and I have found the only way for me. And he goes on in the lyrics and it says, and I don't believe in fretting and grieving. Why mess around with strife? I never was cut out to step and strut out. Give me the simple life. Some find it pleasant, dining on pheasant. Those things roll off my knife. Just serve me tomatoes and mashed potatoes. Give me the simple life. So that's just a few of the lyrics. I'm going to go ahead and finish them up here because it does remind me of our goal here, our anticipated goal, and of reaching out to the solo individuals who are single. And that's what we all crave for, the simple life. He goes on to say that cottage small is all I'm after, not one that's spacious and wide, a house that rings with joy and laughter with the ones who love inside. Some like the high road, I like the low road, free from the care and strife. Sounds corny and seedy, but yes, indeedy, I like the simple life. Could be thrilling with one who's willing to be a farmer's wife. It's calling me pappy, sure makes me happy. Give me the simple life. And I thought that was apropos for today, especially in our the venue that we have here and who our audience is. And again, I want to give a heads up. Uh, I will call out the slides when I need them. And what we're going to do here is I have a little preface here that I'd like to share with you on some thoughts on the false, what the title of the program is, and that is the false consensus. Excuse me. And we're going to talk a little more detail about this. And if you have questions, come on board and ask the questions and throw them at us, and I'll see if I can answer them. A false consensus, what is it? False consensus and the popularity of belief. Now, I heard about this many years ago, and it was and it had to do with how the parallels are with when we're talking to each other. And we have long forgotten our high school days. We've long forgotten the English studies that we've had. And I'm no English major by any means, but however, I do like to study, and I like to study things that interest me. And one of them is a foreign language and the English language and its parts. So allow me to get into this meaty subject here. And again, if you have questions, throw them our way. A false consensus. So what is this, this idea of a false consensus? Well, actually, it's a social phenomenon where every member of a group is believed to hold the same opinion, irrespective of the truth of that fact, when in actual fact, there is a dissent among the group members. In other words, you have this group of people, and they believe they're all on the same page when it comes to beliefs, whatever is near and dear to their heart at the moment, whatever they enjoy together in meeting. Let's say it's a conference. Let's say it's a conference for, I don't know, a book. We'll use that example. And everybody's there because it's a book conference or a book get together for these people. And everybody assumes that everybody is thinking along the same lines as to the content and context of the book that was written. And along comes, you're eating dinner, and all of a sudden you happen to find yourself sitting with strangers, and you strike up a conversation, and come to find out these people are also enjoined in this group or this meeting about this book. It's a book. Let's say it's a book fair. And so you get to talking to these individuals, and you come to find out that the people sitting next to you or talking with you and breaking bread with you, you find out that out of the thousands of people who are attending this gathering, these individuals are actually a distraction in that they really don't care about the book. And as a matter of fact, they're to disrupt the internal mindset of what's really taking place because they don't like the material or whatever. So that's a kind of a easy way of putting it. So if we have a consensus, and we know a consensus is a group of people who cognitively speak on the same terms, they like the same things, or they come together in a common cause. Well, what we find here in this scenario that I just shared with you is the fact that there are people in this group that do not partake and are not along the same lines in thinking of everyone else. Now, that's not unusual, because I've been in those situations where I've gone to conferences before, and I've met up and talked to strangers, and we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, the core context of the group meeting is just that you assume that everything's the same. Well, guess what? It wasn't, and I understand from personal experience this social phenomenon that we're talking about. So how does this play out? Well, there are some things that we need to know about that parallel what I've been studying for many years. And that is the parts of language and speech that have brought me into a closer idea of what is being spoken or what was written about in its context. It nails down and drives home for me an understanding of what is being written about. So we're going to be talking here about some definitions. And one of the words that I'm going to refer to here is apodosis. And all apodosis is a main clause of a conditional sentence. And what the conditional sentences are, we use them in light of the type of language you're using and how we express ourselves individually. In the Greek language, there are classes of this type of conditioning, or understanding, and how it's put together. So a conditional clause is called a protasis, and it's the resultive clause, and it's called adiposis, which I refer to. But in the Greek, there are 4 categories of classes of conditional sentences, and we'll take and take them apart. So we're looking at 2 basic words: protasis and apodosis. Protasis is from the relative clause, from the conditional clause, and then the adipose is a resultive clause. So you're going to ask a question, and I'll get into the details and frame this for you so that we are understanding on the same page here. So what we're going to also look at in our looking at what's going on here today. Let me get to my page here briefly. So what we have here is conditional sentences, and if you could bring up the first slide, I appreciate it there, CC. Okay, thank you. Okay, and there's our title with our little doggy there, False Consensus, Popularity of Belief. And I use this picture here because it reminds me that we're a pet like this would be on guard, and we're not sometimes in our conversations. We tend to listen slow and speak fast. What do I mean by that? In a false consensus, in this popularity of belief, and we walk in with our own biases into a situation, we are slow to hear, but quick to answer somebody. In other words, what we're doing is processing what we're going to say next to an individual. What are we going to say to them? So we're not really listening to what this person is saying. Next slide, please. So we're going to take a look at how this works out in our conversations. We have a next slide. Okay. Okay, let me bring that up myself. Okay, we'll go back and talk about the false consensus. What that is in definition is the main clause of a conditional sentence. And like I said, this is a social phenomenon of a group that holds the same opinion of something, irrespective of the truth. And what it does is it tells us basically that, and it's revealed later on, that there is great dissent among members of a group. Now, this false consensus, I have a quote here from Dr. Sams, and she writes that there are sometimes false consequences with respect to a political groups due to the messages which are produced by their leadership. And I think what is meant there, and I'm kind of spitballing here with the definition. However, what I believe is being said here is that some of the rhetoric that we hear, and I'm not making this political whatsoever, I'm couching this in the conversation of a relationship, a single relationship. So, and what happens here in the arena of a leader? Let's say you have a leader who's a political leader who's standing up and has this message, and they tend to give us false signals and false consensus about who they attach themselves to. Lo and behold, go figure. That's how politics work. Next slide, please. So, and what we're talking about here in the definition and in the conditional clause is that statement that expresses a condition. In other words, a conditional sentence presents a hypothetical scenario, and the result or consequence of that scenario occurs. Now, this definition, what I'm trying to do is help us understand the grammar concepts that we will briefly touch on later. And those concepts I already referred to as apodosis and protasis. And by the way, understanding these concepts helped me realize the importance of conditional clauses in my Greek studies for several years. So again, I'm going to ask the question and then I'll answer the question. What are protasis and apodosis? And what role do they play in these conditional sentences that we form and express ourselves in? And like I said, it expresses a condition. Next slide, please. Thank you. Some examples of what I'm referring to here. And these are just very basic statements. Now, this first one could be a sentence by itself, but I used it anyway. I'm going to use it because it's a good illustration. So the statement is this. Somebody says in a group of people, if we win tonight's game, we're going out to celebrate. So we're going to focus in on what the first part of that sentence is in the English. And that's if we win. So that leaves a wide open suggestion that there's a possibility that you may not, they may not win. Their favorite team may not win. Unlike certain football teams here in the Tampa Bay area, the Buccaneers, they happen to have won Sunday's game. So if we win tonight's game, we're going out to celebrate. Another example will be, I would buy that TV if I had more money. So see that what is being set up here is a condition that has to be met. I would buy a TV if I had the money. And then some things that people say or can say here is, when pigs fly, mom will drive you to the fair. So here we have a conditional sentence, which is composed of two clauses. One is a dependent clause and the other is an independent clause. These are what we know as the protasis and the apodosis. What is that protasis? It's a dependent clause of the conditional sentence. Like I just read, conditional. If we win tonight's game, what's the condition? Well, the condition is the team good enough? Are they going to win? The question is the team going to win? So we couch it in these conditional clauses, which are either dependent or independent. So the protasis is the dependent clause, and the conditional sentence describes the condition. Of the two clauses, this protasis presents a theoretical situation that has not occurred yet. Think of protasis as the if or when clause of the sentence. If or when we win a game of baseball, or we win tonight and we might celebrate. If we win, we'll celebrate. Or if I had the money, I'd buy a TV. See, those are all based on this condition. And that's what I'm referring to. Next slide, please. Some more examples. Let's see. Okay. I don't know how that came out like that. Okay, next slide. Okay, thank you. So we're going to take a closer look at apodosis. And like I said, it's an independent clause of a conditional sentence that describes the consequence of something happening, a condition that happening. And of the two clauses, apodosis presents the result. And the result is the rhetorical situation that occurs. Now, the apodosis is recognized as the main clause of a conditional sentence. For example, if we win that game. The apodosis is the independent clause because it can, in theory, stand on its own as a sentence. Like I said earlier, this first example could have been used as a sentence by its own, on its own. So, for example, we are going out to celebrate can technically be a sentence. What makes it part of a conditional sentence is that the dependent clause is if that maybe they will and maybe they won't win the game tonight. So the word, so when we look at the English word if, it is a conditional part of who we are, of what it is. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. What's the difference between Protestants and Apodosis? I touched on that. And basically what we're talking about here, are we ready for a break? Is that what we're doing here? Protestants comes from the ancient Greek word protasis, and which it means a proposition. And a lot of our, I really enjoyed the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I don't know if you recall. The movie centered around a Greek family, and this young woman is trying to date this one man. And when we come back from our break, I want to share how that intrigued me in the movie, and it was humorous, and how that plays into what I'm talking about here. So we'll be back in a moment, and stay right there, and we'll come back and talk further. And we're back, and hope you stayed with us. And we're going to be on this side of the clock, and hope we get a lot of things out to you that you can use or understand. And well, I'm sure you can understand. You're adults out there. Okay, I was talking about the movie. One of my favorite movies was My Big Fat Greek Wedding. And one of the characters, the girl in the movie, is trying to meet up with, and she likes this man, and she's wanting to date him, and she's trying to bring her into her life and her family and all that. Well, during this whole conversation about this man that she's trying to get together with, her father, this Greek gentleman who is quite amusing. I mean, he has an answer for all the English words that are out there. He'll say that if you look very carefully at the English words, you will find that there's Greek behind them. And it's interesting that that he came up with how he comes up with all these definitions and how they work, and it's totally amusing. So to me, it was amusing in that because I studied a little bit of Greek, Koine Greek, and the movie came along, and here he's talking about modern Greek, the Greek that's used today, present day Greek, and he has a definition. He has a way of couching an English word and couching it with how it was developed from the Greek language, and it's quite amusing. And so I found very great delight in watching that part of it, especially. So let's get back to our topic at hand. So what's the difference between a Protestant and Apodosis? It comes from, Protestant comes from the ancient Greek, as this character I was talking about does. It comes from the word protasis, meaning proposition. Now, you're saying to yourself, I can hear your brains ticking now. What in the heck does this have to do with being solo? Well, it's all it is information. I'm not a counselor. I'm not an English major. But what I have done in my years in studying the different languages, I understand a very little bit about the communication and how people communicate with one another and understanding or misunderstanding things that are being said. So in this word that we're using here, the protasis, it's a proposition, because a proposition can be defined as what? And it's basically a suggested program or plan of action. And we can easily see how that protasis is a proposed hypothetical situation of a conditional clause. It goes back to when we use the word if and maybe it will, and if and maybe it won't. So you see the conditional, how it's couched in the conditional way in a hypothetical situation. If and maybe it will happen, and if and maybe it won't happen. So it's like that word is sitting on the fence, and it could lean either way depending on other circumstances around it. Now, the apodosis also comes from the ancient Greek, and we're going to say it's the Koine Greek. It's the Greek language of the street language of when Jesus Christ lived, and we talked about that in past meetings. But the apodosis comes from the ancient Greek word apodidomai, meaning to give back or to deliver. To give back, that's why you have the way it's spelled, apodidomai. It tells you that it's something that's going to happen, but it's going to be delivered in a certain way. So this makes sense because apodosis, as the independent clause, gives back or delivers what to us? It delivers a result. A result should the condition should a result should the condition occur. Okay, still not clear enough? Well, here are some easier ways to remember the difference between protasis and apodosis. Protasis is a proposition, and it's an independent clause. If the independent clause, if or when type of clause. But apodosis is a proposition dependent clause, Apodosis delivers the result of if or when clause. An independent clause can be a standalone sentence. It delivers the information in its own sentence and the way it's used. So how does this all work out to be a part of our conversation together as singles? It's really no different, other than the fact that you have people who are like-minded. We are like-minded in that we have something in our recent background that tells us that, we either think we're broken goods, we think that we have no use or value to other people anymore. A person may have been rejected, may have been lied to, whatever your situation. It does not prohibit you from moving forward. It doesn't prohibit you. So in this conversation we're having today, and this dialogue I'm having today, it speaks to how we communicate with one another. And I would hope in my heart of hearts, I would hope that it's going to lend itself to help us understand together what some of those things are. What I'd like to do here is I'm going to bring up a slide here that I have, and I'll bring it down a little bit if I can. Okay. I found this the other day, and I'm going to read it because it has to do with where we are right now in our own personal lives. These are maybe, we focused on the word if, and I want to follow up on that with something more common and more to our century, as it were. So if I use the word if for each one of these statements, I want you to take to heart what is being said if it comes close to where you're at in your life. The first one says, if you struggle to stay positive. If you struggle to stay positive. I don't know you. I don't know who you are. I don't know your lifestyle or anything about you. But if you're a person that struggles to stay positive in your life, there are many venues. There are people that you can talk to. Join with us in the WGSN network and see what's out there. Put your toe in the water and stretch yourself and see what's out there. And even though you're going to be around like-minded people, you will be with individuals. I guarantee you'll be with individuals who have an upbeat, positive way of looking at things. The next one is if you don't try to please everyone. If you don't try to please everyone. I have talked to individuals in the past where, the downfall, they felt one of the big downfalls for them was to try and please the whole family or try and please the husband and the kids. And they really didn't realize that until they were out of that family mode and they were on their own and they reflected back on what went wrong, or they reflected back on who they were as a person or are as a person. And they come to the conclusion, and I've talked to these individuals, that, they were working hard to please everyone. And that may be your character. That may be who you are at heart. That may be the type of person you are. But let me say this, it's your time to heal. If you're close to that situation where you've been hurt or you're struggling with certain things, it's your time. Sit back, relax, and think this through to a point where you understand that it's your time of life to get where you need to go. Another statement here is if you're a work in progress. Now, I don't know about you. We all are a work in progress, aren't we? Needless to say, a work in progress means that, for me anyway, we are taking stock of what we need to change in our lives, and we're actually have an action plan, or we think about it and we actually do it. Like I just suggested a moment ago, stretch yourself and come out and join and be with people who are single, and not just to look for a mate, not just to, but to heal, to be a part of that healing process, or even if it's just to take a breather from everyday living and what you're going through and experiencing at the moment. Let's face it, I can't imagine this, but they say the stressors in life that are common to all of us, the high stress, buying a house. And there are some positive things in our lives that are stressors, high stressors for us as well. But imagine what kind of a stressor it is that you may be going through something in your life. Another statement here is if you fear your potential. Now, that's not uncommon. That's not uncommon at all. In that, if you fear your potential, what that says to me is you've cloistered yourself in a mental attitude that doesn't allow you to move forward. I've known people who have been standing in place for a long time, and they have not taken advantage or redeemed the time that they have to move forward in their lives and to take care of business and make themselves whole and healthy. And I said that wrong. I didn't say make yourself that way, but at least work towards that, making yourself understand, or helping yourself understand that there is a healthier way to look at life than to have fear. The basis of fear, I won't get into all the jargon and all the things about fear, but fear can have a devastating effect in a person's life, not only as to the results and consequences of your everyday life, but even on your health. Fear has with it these things physiologically in our body that we don't understand. We don't understand all of it, but fear can rack your body medically as well. If you have some bad habits, that's another one. How are we doing on time here? The other thing is, like I said, is if you have some bad habits. So who are we to speak to you about your bad habits if you have any? Most of us do. We're common that way. We understand that we are frail human beings, that we have gotten to the point where we disregard things in our lives because of the fear in our lives, and then we end up with bad habits. And I say bad habits, whatever that means to you. To me, it means something like smoking. I mean, for me, that's a bad habit for me. Another one is you miss your old self. You're going to be in this place in your life that you think, well, I'm going to miss what I had. I'm going to miss, and we all do this. We tend to glorify the past in our longing to be part of it, part of our past. And I think I'll close with that. And actually, I'll close with one other, my last line here. If you don't know the answer to something in your life, ask. You can always contact someone. You can always talk to someone about getting answers. And everything I've made statements to today in this list of ifs for you and for me. Think about this. hey, it's okay. It's okay to be those things and to be a part of those things. Just realize that we have to move forward through those things. I'm JT Voisey. I want to let you know that I'm always looking for that person to find a need and fill it. And like I said, it's a way of life with me, and I enjoy people. So if you want to contact me, you can contact me through WGSN and its affiliates, or my email address, which is on the site. So please join us and be a part of who we are and what we're here doing here, and that's healing together, hugging together, and having a great time together here at WGSN-DB. I want to thank you and have a great day.